everybody, it's Wednesday. I hope you're doing well. I'm a little bit early today, or a little bit late. It's 10 to 8 and I'm just in the office. I went home and was walking Gizmo and then had like a creativity spurt, and my laptop was at work, so I wanted to come back into the office. So that's why I'm still in the office, and that's why the lighting is terrible, because it's not made for making videos, and that's why I'm in my daggy walking clothes. But I've just finished what I was going to do, so I wanted to jump on and do my live now before I went home. Otherwise you would have got it from my car. So I hope you're all well, everyone. Hi AH. I know the lighting's terrible, Amanda. I know the angles are terrible, but I'm just in the office and didn't bring my tripod, and jumping on early because it's time to go home. No, don't do it now. You're going to get me from the car. So today I had a really interesting conversation with some other business owners, and we were talking about knowing your worth, which is actually a topic that comes up a lot with entrepreneurs, business owners, directors, everybody. It's all about knowing your worth. And you know, that comes from knowing your why you do something, what value you provide. It's something that I've worked hard on for many, many years. But today I wanted to share some of the advice that I gave. And generally in these Confessions of a Conveyancer, I'll always give out information. It's not usually related to actual professionals in my own industry, because I like to make it very, information marketing. But today I thought, you know what, I'm going to get to the nitty gritty, and I'm going to give you the 5 perils of what can go wrong if you use cheap conveyancers. And this stems from some conversations that I had today with other professionals, nothing to do with my industry, but we were all working on these different, manufacturing products, services, all different things, knowing your value and knowing what you provide, how much to charge for that and why you charge for that. And that's kind of where it comes from. So with conveyancing, property is Australia's biggest asset class. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. So the biggest asset in Australia is property. It is what it is, okay? So let's put that into context. Whatever property you're looking to buy or sell, it is the most biggest financial decisions that you will make in your life for most people that, everyday people. And it needs to be treated with such respect. And we're going to go through my top 5 tips for finding a conveyancer. This is not self-serving at all. I just want you to be able to take this information, and you can use this in so many other industries. These tips that I've got to give you about recognizing value in someone's service, you can take anywhere. Number 1 is no surprise. Read the fine print terms and conditions. Now, I see this all the time, and this isn't just with conveyancers. I see this a lot with builders. I see this a lot with so many different industries, accountants, you name it. Read the fine print. Why? Because you can't get one quote and compare apples with apples if you've got an apple and an orange. It's as simple as that. Someone gives you a quote for $1,500. Someone gives you a quote for $2,000. I don't know how many times they both will end up at the same price by the time you read the fine print. You really need to be really careful looking at fixed fees, what the terms and conditions are. Most people that charge fixed fee, there's so many trips and traps in there, it is not funny. They usually have, little terms and conditions, but if it does this, then that costs more. If we have to do this, it costs more. I actually met someone at a conference not that long ago, and their fees were so cheap. I said to him, how on earth are you making any money? And he actually has in his fine print that if you want to have an appointment with them, that costs extra. Is it just me, or is that crazy? Like, people would assume that they get to actually speak to the person that they're engaging to deal with their largest asset class. Nope. You want to speak to them, that costs extra. That's why they're so cheap, because everything is taken out as well. So need to think about that. Number 2, this is exactly what I focus on: value rather than price. You want good value. Yes, You don't care about the price. You want value for what your money is getting. So you want to make sure that you're getting bang for your buck and that you're getting really good investment. Value for price goes with everything that you do, in everything from services to buying cars. You know, when you think about buying a BMW or buying a more expensive car or a fridge, you're looking at value. You don't necessarily want the cheapest, you don't necessarily want the most expensive, but you're looking for the best value for what you're needing. So that is it's so important. And you know what? You can't expect a 5-star service on a 1-star price. You know, going with the cheapest conveyancer in town, that's the kind of service that you're going to get. One thing I often like to say to people is when they want me to price match, I don't price match because it devalues what we do. But if I was to price match, often I'll say to them, what area of our service would you want me to discount? Because I simply cannot do the level of service that we do at that price. And that goes for all professionals. You should be respecting what their price is. If that's not your price point, that's fine. But you shouldn't be asking them to discount just to make it fit into your price point, because then they discount. What area would they discount? So it's about really finding value. That's so important. You know, many cheap services become more like a factory or a production line or a call center. You want to have that real client-centric experiences, you've got to pay for it. But that is also what takes away the stress. You want to have stress-free, you take away from it as well. It's the same thing when we're talking about cars. You buy a Hyundai, which is cheaper, you know what you're going to get. You want to spend more money and get a BMW, that's what you know you're going to get as well. Number 3, and again, across so many industries, get a quote, not an estimation. What's the difference? Estimation is subject to change. You ring up and get a verbal quote from someone. If anyone is giving you for professional services a verbal quote, that is ridiculous. If they cannot even give you something in writing that you can rely on before you've had to engage them, is that really a business that you want to deal with? You're dealing with the most expensive asset class that you own. You expect a professional quote in writing straight away, available for you, that you can rely on. If you just get a quote over the phone and then they take your details and get the file started, that is ridiculous. Then you're engaged to work with them before you've even had a chance to read the terms and conditions, properly review it, and also giving someone a quote verbally and asking to make a decision on the phone, that's not fair on you. You haven't had a time to go away and reflect, read that quote, compare it with others, speak to your partner who you're working with, any of those things. So if you find someone's giving you a quote verbally, that is not the type of respect that you should need to have for your own assets. Verbal quotes, no. You definitely do not want that. You want to get estimation in writing, and then it also gives you an indication of what type of firm you're dealing with. If you're dealing with a firm that you ring up and ask for a quote and they just give it to you verbally on the phone, that sets the standard of what type of service you can expect from them the entire transaction. And this isn't conveyancing specific, this is anything. If you go and get your car fixed, you expect to have a quote in writing. Why would you not expect a quote in writing in regards to your conveyancing transaction? A real estate agent's not going to give you a quote verbally. You know, even your bank doesn't give you a quote. So really any professional industry, any quotes at all, across the board, get it in writing before you commit to anything. Nobody expects you to make a decision on the spot. You should be allowed to take that time to think about it. Number 4, do your research. This is the easiest part. Doing your research for who to decide to use is so easy. You've got Facebook, you ask your friends, you've got Google reviews. There's so many ways that you can do your research and find out about someone, and it doesn't cost you a cent. There's recommendations that you can put out on Facebook and ask people, who do I use for this? You'll get so many recommendations there, and the good thing is, it's real life people putting their name to it that you can trust. You can pick up the phones, things like that. So recommendations, and then stalk them. People expect that you're going to stalk them. Someone gives their business a recommendation, jump on their Facebook, stalk them, read their reviews. If there's any negative reviews, read how they reacted to those negative reviews and how they were able to handle that situation. Sometimes that's as good as a positive review, seeing how someone has handled a negative review. You can't please everyone, but it goes to show what type of people they are. Get the recommendation, then follow that up by stalking them. Look at their website. Is it been updated? Have they got blogs? Is that information there? Are they who they say they are? Okay? It's really easy to do. No excuses for not doing that part. Last of all, simply ask yourself, if someone is too cheap, why are they so cheap? It's not rocket science. If somebody is offering you a service that is that cheap, there's got to be a reason why. It's very different for a lot of industries, but for a lot of professional industries, so like accountants, solicitors, conveyancers, all of those professional industries, it's really, really simple. It means that people aren't qualified that are doing your work. That's how they save money. They push it down the line. You'll be getting junior staff who don't have qualifications acting for you. Secretaries doing a lot of the work. They might not have tertiary qualifications, someone overlooking it. Or maybe being cheap is the only way they can attract market. So it's really interesting. 5 really simple steps that you can take away when you're looking at buying and utilizing any type of professional service. And as I said, this came today from a peer advisory group with some businesses that I work with, and talking about what your value is for the service that you provide. And this is why I was putting it in the context of the consumer and what the consumer should look for, not just what we as entrepreneurs know what our worth is, but understanding the mindset of the consumer and what the consumer can do to make sure that they're getting the best value for money, okay? So the top 5 for 1, read the fine print terms and conditions. There is so much hidden stuff in there. I did a video once about how to choose the correct builder for you. And I went into detail how you cannot compare most of the time 2 quotes because they are not apples and apples. There's apples and oranges. You need to be really careful. If you think that you're comparing quotes, you've got to be really careful. Ring up and have conversations about them because there's very rarely 2 quotes that are identical. One might be, making up figures, one might be $1,500, one might be $2,000, but then when you read the fine print, the other one's actually $2,200 and it's more. An example that I gave is there's actually a few examples. I know a lot of places that are cheaper, and so they'll opt out of everything in their terms and conditions, and people just expect that they get that. Then they're looking for that extra type of service. They ask for those things. Next thing they know, their invoice is astronomical anyway, and they're getting people that weren't qualified, and they just charge them more than if they'd went with someone who had, more value. That leads me on to number 2, go for value rather than price. You should never make any large financial decisions based purely on price. If you are building a house, you're never going to put the number 1 decision on price. If you are selling a house and you're choosing a real estate agent, you will never choose the real estate agent purely on price. You're looking for value, relationships, trust. It's exactly the same with your conveyancer or solicitor. You want value, okay? That is so important. You don't want a cheap conveyancer, and you don't want that to be their line that they are cheap. That's not the type of person that you want to work with. 3, get a quote, not an estimation. You want a quote. You want it in black and white. And if they want to give it to you verbally over the phone, you want someone that treats you with more respect and actually emails you out a quote. That is the type of firm that you want representing you. And, how can you expect someone that you can fully trust to work with your most important asset if they can't have enough respect and time to actually email you out a quote for you to consider in your own time rather than just shooting off a verbal quote over the phone? I know that I'm harping on about this. You have no idea how common this is, that it's actually embarrassing for industry, and it's something that I'm really trying to teach. You want people to trust you. You've got to treat their assets with that same type of respect that they have worked for. We all work damn hard for our money to buy and sell property, so you should be treated with that respect. Someone gives you a verbal quote, why would you even consider it? Okay? 4, do your research. Oh my gosh, so easy. Stalk away. The internet is there to do that. Everything is at your fingertips to be able to find out about someone, from reviews to recommendations to then stalking them and seeing if they are who they are. Do they have the same values as you? Are they different? They don't have to be the most expensive, the cheapest, the quickest. They just have to be the most trustworthy. That's what you want to be. Is this a company that you can form a connection with? That is so important. But remembering also that if somebody has, one negative comment in a sea of 90 positive comments, it's not necessarily about the negative comment, but it's about how they handled that negative comment. There's businesses that I've mentored that have had they're really panicky because someone's made a really bad comment about them in a sea of 90. And I say to them, this is a really good opportunity. And they don't understand. I say, why? I said, because the public can see how you are going to react to that situation. So this is actual gold. Being given a negative testimonial or negative review that is public, that gives you an opportunity that you can just not buy. Gives you an opportunity to display how you handle those situations, how you respond to them, what type of ethics you have, dignity, all the rest of it. You can't portray that in any other way than by having that negative testimonial to start off with. So if someone has a negative testimonial when you are finding out about them, obviously look at the percentage. If it's 2 to 30, you're never going to please everyone, but see how they reacted to it. Did they get defensive? Were they condescending? Were they communicating well? Did they open up communication with the person making the testimonial? You can learn more in how they've been challenged than sometimes just all the glossy personal ones. And don't be fooled. I don't know how many times I've seen a testimonial. Oh, this person was amazing. Clearly, it's a relative or a friend that probably got a discount anyway. Don't be fooled, okay? You guys are way too smart for that. And last one is ask yourself why they're so cheap. If you saw a BMW that is 1 year old for sale and it was suddenly $10,000, the first thing you would say to yourself is alarm bells. Why is that so cheap? So it should be exactly the same with your conveyancer. If something is too cheap, something is amiss. Like buying a lemon of a car, you're going to be committing to a lemon of a conveyancer or whatever professional relationship it is. Okay? 5 tips to make sure that you are choosing someone to be on your team, guide you through your property journey, and basically not buy a lemon. Simple as that. All of these things don't cost money. They're all at your fingertips. But I would also say that don't always base decisions on price, recommendations, trust, track record. They're all there. And that goes for everything, every professional service. I mean, everything I've told you could be used for financial planners or accountants, surveyors, any type of professional service, even as far as we go to health professionals. Actually, all of those 5 that I've told you are perfect for the health industry as well. It's the same principles that you use everywhere. You wouldn't buy a BMW if it seemed way too cheap. So think about it as well. That's it, gang. I need to go home. Thank you for watching. Hi, Sally. Hi, Charlotte. Charlotte, you're probably wondering what I'm doing at the office, but I had a little brainwave and had to come flying in. Hence why I'm still in my dog walking clothes. Great to see you, Julie, Tristan, Rhiannon, Sally. Thanks for jumping on with your comments. AH, thanks everyone. That's it. Go and find value in everything that you purchase and everything that you commit to. You are responsible for your own decisions. No one else is. So make them count, make them worth the valuable, and only work with people that you can trust. Then you'll enjoy the experience. You can communicate with them frankly. Work with people that are your type of people. It's not about being the best. You might have someone that the reviews are through the roof. They're amazing. They're the best financial planner you've ever met. But if you cannot connect with that person, that relationship is not going to work. Find people that you trust, that you work with. I've given you the top 5 that you then put in order. That is going to really help you solidify your team for making decisions. Thank you, gang. See you next week.